In my past life, during a severe illness that hospitalized me, my wife blocked me and vanished for 2 full years. From the onset of my sickness until my death, my sister was the one who tenderly cared for me. Yet that after I passed away, my missing wife suddenly returned to contest the inheritance. Ultimately, after seizing nearly 90% of my estate, she embarked on a happy life with her first love. To pay for my treatment, my sister had even mortgaged the family home. And in the end, having exhausted everything, she was reduced to living under a bridge. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back on the day I was diagnosed with the terminal illness. In this life, I still couldn't change the fate of my own death. But I was absolutely determined not to let my sister repeat her tragic past. And I was resolved to ensure that venomous wife wouldn't get a single cent. When I opened my eyes, the woman beside me was so overcome that tears streamed down her face. "Wonderful. You're finally awake, little brother." I was momentarily stunned. The scene before me felt intensely familiar. I understood. I had been reborn. My sister, Stella Reed, gripped my hand tightly and said gently, "Don't worry, little brother. Even if it means losing everything we have, I will help you get treatment. You will definitely get better." Seeing her eyes red and swollen from crying pained my heart deeply. In that previous life, my wife, Chloe Tanner, had blocked me during my critical illness and then disappeared without a trace. My sister, Stella, had mortgaged her only home to pay for my treatment, ultimately spending every last resource and ending up living under a bridge. After I died, Chloe actually returned with a lawyer and claiming her rights as the legal spouse that snatched away nearly 90% of my inheritance. She then turned around and used that money to start a life of unrestrained luxury with her first love, Lance Walker. The hospital room door suddenly opened, jolting me from my memories. It was Chloe. She walked in wearing high heels, holding the lab report, her eyes slightly red as if she had just been crying. I keenly noticed a distinct pinch mark on her wrist. It was obvious. She had pinched herself to induce tears, using the pain to act out this tragic scene. "Honey," Chloe knelt by the bed, clutching my hand, her face covered in tears. "Honey," the doctor told me. "He said you have cancer." Her crying act was quite convincing, except the tears refused to fall, making her seem like an incompetent clown. I ignored her sobs, my gaze fixed on her meticulously applied makeup. Recalling the events of my past life, I couldn't help but marvel at the deepening complexity of the human heart. Who could have predicted that such an elegant, beautiful, and seemingly gentle wife would choose to leave me after I fell ill? Based on the previous timeline, an argument with her was imminent. Chloe would leave in anger, block me, and not reappear until after my death to fight for the inheritance. Lost in thought, I suddenly noticed a flash of deep red inside her collar. I reached out to move the fabric aside, and my expression darkened instantly. "What's the meaning of this tattoo below your collarbone?" Chloe was startled. She quickly slapped my hand away and readjusted her bra strap. "Are you sick? Having hallucinations?" "There's no tattoo." I chuckled inwardly, then feigned ignorance. Maybe I am hallucinating. Her body still carried the scent of Lance Walker. "What's that scent you're wearing?" I asked, knowing full well the answer. "What exactly do you mean by that?" "Ethan, you're sick right now." "I don't want to argue with you," Chloe said, her face turning quite unpleasant. Stella shot Chloe a dissatisfied look. "At a time like this, you still want to argue with my brother? Are you trying to upset him to death?" "Chloe, you should go attend to your work. I'll take care of Ethan." To prevent a confrontation between Chloe and me, my sister tried to draw her away. This moment in my past life I had made a loud scene. But in this life I saw no need for that. Consequently, I didn't engage in a direct confrontation with Chloe either. After Chloe left, I was finally able to calm down and start planning my countermeasures. I wanted to transfer all my assets to my sister before I died. 3 days after being discharged from the hospital, I immediately contacted my classmate, Troy Daniels, a highly skilled private lawyer who had handled many complex cases. "You say you have late-stage liver cancer. That can't be right." Troy was utterly shocked by the news of my cancer, but after seeing my diagnosis report, he sighed deeply and said "I'm sorry, I had no idea." I smiled and shook my head. I asked you here today to make a will. I intend to transfer all my money to my sister's name. After reviewing the documents I provided, Troy couldn't help but shake his head. I'm afraid that won't be easy. Chloe is your legal spouse. According to the law that she is entitled to half of your assets. I pushed a large stack of envelopes directly toward him. Don't talk to me about the process. I just want the result. Besides that, here's a lead for you. Chloe is having an affair. The other man is our university classmate, Lance Walker. Lance Walker. Troy's jaw dropped in astonishment. That guy seems so decent. Really unexpected. That's precisely why I'm troubling you. My old classmate. Please use your connections to find evidence of Chloe's affair for me. Okay. After leaving the law firm, I returned home and was surprised to find Chloe there. What are you doing at home? I asked, taken aback. Perhaps precisely because I hadn't insisted on exposing the secret of the tattoo below Chloe's collarbone, the butterfly effect meant that in this life, she hadn't blocked me nor chosen to leave. Chloe said excitedly. Honey, I spoke with my doctor friends. They told me that domestically they can only prolong life at best, but there are successful treatment examples abroad now. I was somewhat shocked to hear this. Late-stage liver cancer can actually be treated. Of course it can. It's just that the surgery costs are quite high. How much? I asked, immediately curious. Of course I wasn't naively believing a terminal illness could be cured. I just wanted to figure out what scheme she was plotting. Chloe told me the surgery would cost about $500,000 US. $500,000 was roughly equivalent to over 3.5 million yuan. Chloe's plan was quite clever. 3.5 million was almost the sum total of all my assets. She wanted to swindle all my money away and then live a happy life with Lance Walker. Forget it. Spending so much on treatment that might not even work was simply not worth it. Smack. Chloe slammed her chopsticks down on the table, her voice urgent. That won't do. As long as there's hope for a cure, forget about losing everything we have. Even if I have to sell the pots and pans, I will get you the treatment. If I hadn't lived through 2 lives, I might have actually believed her lies. All right, then you go ahead and make the arrangements. I want to rest a little. I said that. It was only then that Chloe seemed to realize something was off. Wait a minute, honey. You're so seriously ill. Why aren't you in the hospital? Why did you come home instead? Her face paled slightly as if a thought had struck her. She hurried over to me, grabbed my hand. No, you must come to the hospital with me right now. You need to be hospitalized. I thought to myself, that would checking into the hospital give you and Lance some private opportunities. Well, it wasn't entirely out of the question. I need to grab some things first. I'll go back on my own later. The doctor has already prescribed medication for me. I'm not at the point where I can't walk yet. Just as I was about to leave, I suddenly heard the sound of the keypad lock disengaging, followed by Lance Walker bursting into the house. Darling, I'm here. I've missed you so much. Lance happily scooped Chloe up into a hug, completely unaware that I was standing right there in the corner. Chloe, flustered, said, Let me go. Don't touch me. Lance, his face full of confusion, asked, Baby, what's wrong? In the next instant that he couldn't call her baby anymore because his eyes landed on me. His entire face visibly paled in an instant. Ethan, you. Aren't you in the hospital? If I were in the hospital, I wouldn't have been able to witness such a spectacular scene. I said, my gaze shifting to Chloe. Chloe'd care to give me an explanation. I was so furious inside, I wanted to curse aloud. It wasn't because of the hug between Chloe and Lance, but because I was infuriated by Lance's sheer stupidity. He hadn't even checked the situation in the room before hugging my wife. Now that wanting to play along and pretend I didn't know what was going between them was difficult. I wasn't even given a chance to play dumb. I had no choice but to muster the courage to ask him directly. Lance, we are after all classmates. What exactly is the meaning of you coming into my house and immediately hugging my wife? And how do you know the code to my home? Lance was extremely embarrassed. He scratched his head, stammering. Well, I actually. Truth be told, even if he talked for half a day, he probably couldn't explain it clearly. Chloe reacted swiftly, immediately explaining to me. Honey, don't misunderstand. The overseas surgery I mentioned earlier was introduced by Lance. He must have good news. That's why he was so excited. He just forgot about propriety between men and women for a moment and hugged me. As soon as Chloe said this, Lance immediately picked up the thread. Yes, that's exactly it. I was just too excited. And then seeing you startled me. I was momentarily stunned. You don't mind, you old classmate. I'm doing this for your own good. Asterisk ha. Asterisk, of course I didn't mind. Not only did I not care, that I hoped they would get together as soon as possible. That way I could have a chance to execute my plan. Thinking such thoughts, but being unable to voice them outright, was utterly maddening. Hugging my wife right in front of me. A friend's wife is not to be coveted lightly, don't you know that? Fortunately, Lance was aware of Chloe's plan to transfer the inheritance. He moved closer and sat down next to me, saying my friend, that I'm sorry about your illness, but it's not without hope. I know an excellent doctor abroad who specializes in liver surgery. Although the cost is high, that you only live once. If you survive, that you can earn the money back. Seeing Lance putting on this concerned act made me both angry and amused. Work myself to the bone to save money. Send it abroad. SOU and Chloe can live it up. You can discuss this with Chloe. I have full confidence in her. I'm a bit tired. I'll go get my things first and then head back to the hospital. You two can discuss it slowly. I stood up and walked into the bedroom. The first thing I did was take the property deed. I then placed it at the very bottom of my backpack, casually stuffing a few pieces of clothing on top as camouflage that I'm leaving now. You two continue your discussion. Try to come up with a plan for me as quickly as possible. I'm still young. I don't want to just end it like this. I stood at the door, gripping Lance's hand tightly, as if I couldn't go on without him. Downstairs, in my car, I immediately checked the phone surveillance. We had installed cameras at home originally to watch the pet dog. But now they had unexpectedly become a tool for monitoring my wife. On the sofa, the two sat side by side. Lance's hands began to wander. Chloe lightly slapped one away. Behave yourself. This is still Ethan's home. Don't go too far. Lance held his stung hand, looking somewhat displeased. What's too far? It's not like it's the first time I've done things here. Ethan is on his last legs. What are you so worried about? Once we transfer his money abroad, we can live the good life together, right? Then let's find a place to lay low for a couple of years. I don't want to have to take care of him every day. We can come back to claim the inheritance after he dies. I wondered what her reaction would be when 2 years later, she discovered I was still alive. Chloe's intuition was razor sharp. She actually abandoned her plan to seize all of my assets outright, opting instead to take a portion first. That way, after she squandered it, she could still return to fight for my inheritance even after my death. I hit the steering wheel hard, thinking desperately for a countermeasure. Suddenly, my eyes lit up, and a highly feasible plan emerged in my mind. In my past life, blocked by my wife, I had given up on myself and didn't actively undergo the chemotherapy recommended by the hospital, resulting in my death 2 years later. But in this life, I was determined to defy her wishes and live as long as I possibly could. Moreover, not only would I live longer, I had to find a way to fake my death to lure her back to contest the inheritance. On the 3rd day of my hospital stay, Chloe and Lance came to see me. Honey, I was just talking with Lance. He plans to take me abroad to find that leading doctor. I frowned slightly, pretending not to understand. You're going abroad? Chloe replied softly. Of course I need to go abroad to check. I have to verify that doctor's expertise before I can feel safe in trusting you to him for surgery. Honey, I'm doing this for your health. I had heard enough of this for your own good talk. All right, then you two go ahead. Chloe hesitated for a moment, rubbing her thumb and forefinger together. But honey, I need some funds. I handed her an international card. All the funds you need are on this card. It's enough for your use. Go with peace of mind. I'll be waiting for good news at home. This international card was something I had arranged a few days prior through my lawyer classmate, Troy Daniels. It cost a considerable amount and was set up by professionals. No matter how much was spent, cross-border SMS notifications would be sent directly to my phone. The account held 1 million yuan, which she could use freely. However, while the account indeed contained 1,900,000 of it was frozen and inaccessible. Once she spent the first 100,000, the remaining funds would be blocked, forcing her to return obediently. I needed the international spending alerts and planned to hire a private detective to obtain video evidence of her intimate contact and affair with Lance Walker abroad. The moment Chloe heard I had prepared $1 million for her, that the joy on her face was impossible to hide. That's wonderful, honey. Chloe hugged me tightly and kissed my cheek with a loud mwah sound. From my peripheral vision, I saw Lance pouting, looking quite displeased. Oh, that you two have been together for so long, oh, you have to flaunt your affection right in front of me. As he said this, Lance roughly pulled Chloe out of my embrace. I frowned at Lance. What's your problem? My wife is going abroad, who knows for how long. Can't I even kiss her goodbye? Lance felt extremely irritated, as if his own wife had been violated. But he didn't dare vent his anger. Suppressing his emotions, he said coldly to me, once we find the doctor and cure you, you can be affectionate whenever you want. The plane is about to take off. Chloe, we need to get going. After hearing this, Chloe bid me a reluctant farewell with a few polite words, then followed Lance out of the ward. The moment they left, I immediately called the private detective. They're gone. Follow them, and don't lose them. Don't worry, boss. You get what you pay for. I'll do my utmost. Keep an eye on your messages. After Detective Miller hung up, I soon received a real-time tracking video he sent via a messaging app. Watching the video, I was somewhat impressed by Detective Miller's skills. In the footage, even though he was clearly 20 meters away from them, Chloe and Lance's conversation was perfectly audible in the short clip. Upon inquiry, I learned that Detective Miller had purchased a directional listening device overseas with a range of nearly 300 meters. I couldn't help but sigh inwardly. You truly get what you pay for. This professional-grade listening equipment wasn't something an ordinary private detective could afford. Even with the financial means, finding a way to purchase it wasn't guaranteed. Chloe and the other man left the hospital and immediately went to the nearest international bank. After confirming the card indeed held 1 million yuan, Lance exclaimed excitedly, "That fool Ethan Reed actually gave you $1 million. He's so generous. I can't wait to see the look on his face when he finds out you're using this money not to find a doctor for him, but to enjoy life abroad with me. I'm really looking forward to it." Chloe couldn't help but glare at him. "You're such a bad guy." Although it was a scolding, her tone carried a hint of playful affection. I felt a pang of loss. Chloe had never shown this coquettish, teasing side in front of me. I always thought she wasn't the type to be so beguiling. It turned out I simply wasn't worthy of experiencing that side of her. Lost in thought for a moment, Chloe pulled a watch from her backpack. "Lance, a man needs to look presentable when going abroad. Put this watch on." Lance glanced at the watch, his eyes nearly popping out of his head. "A Patek Philippe. These things start at 300,000. Let me see this model. Oh my God, a white gold vintage model. This starts at $1 million." Chloe was stunned. "Oh, that expensive." This watch was left to Ethan by his father. I've seen him take it out to look at occasionally, but he never wore it. SOI. Took it secretly. Lance extended his wrist, and Chloe, beaming, personally fastened the watch for him. "Isn't it just $1 million watch? In my heart, you are the most precious thing in this world. This watch suits you best." Listening to their undisguised emotional exchange made me sick. Especially that white gold watch, which struck a deep chord in my heart. It was my father's heirloom. He had told me the watch was over 100 years old, dating back to my great-grandfather's era. To me, it was more than just $1 million watch. Touching it, I seemed to feel a connection across time, as if communicating with my great-grandfather and having a silent conversation with my father. Such a precious item had been stolen by this woman, Chloe, without a second thought. Not only stolen, but given to that bastard Lance to wear. Thinking of this, I instinctively sent a message to Detective Miller. "Can you find a way to get that watch back?" Detective Miller replied quickly, "Theft. That's illegal. Illegal or not, that watch is mine. I can prove you're not breaking the law. Read. What I mean is, the remuneration needs to be increased. Fine. I'll increase your payment. You must get it back. If they took the watch abroad, and after spending the 100,000 found the remaining 900,000 frozen, they would surely choose to sell the watch. Not only would I be unable to recover it then, but it would also disrupt my plans. What are you still doing on your phone at a time like this? Just as I was watching the real-time short video, my sister, Stella Reed, suddenly pushed the door open. She carried a lunchbox in one hand and fruit in the other. Sis, you're here. The stern expression on my face quickly vanished, replaced by a warm smile. Only death can make one truly understand the fickleness of human relationships. Recalling that hopeless time in the hospital in my past life, that not a single relative came to see me. Only my sister would come to keep me company after work every day. My brother-in-law consequently came to the hospital and had a loud argument with Stella, accusing her of being a brother-obsessed enabler. But my sister retorted, "The marital home we live in was bought by my brother. I'm taking care of him. How does that make me an enabler? Besides me, my brother has no one else. If I don't take care of him, should I just watch him suffer?" The most serious argument since their marriage erupted between Stella and her husband, ultimately leading to a quiet divorce without my knowledge. Thinking of this, my sense of guilt grew stronger. Sis, I'm not at the point of needing care yet. You don't have to come see me every day. I've completed the discharge procedures and plan to receive treatment at home. Stella's expression turned serious. What kind of talk is that? Since when do you need to be polite with your sister? I didn't say anything more, because no matter what I said, my sister wouldn't leave in the evening after seeing that I was in relatively good condition. Stella gave me a few instructions and then went back home. About a week later, I calculated the timing called for a car and arrived at the bank smoothly before 9 a.m. Stella Reed stood at the bank counter, clutching the property deed tightly, her fingers turning pale. The loan officer slid the final page of the contract towards Ms. Reed and urged Ms. Reed, once you signed the mortgage loan will be approved. She took a deep breath, and the tip of her pen had just touched the paper. Sis, I immediately called out to her. Stella turned around abruptly, surprised to see me. Brother, what are you doing here? I walked up to her, grabbed the contract, and tore it to shreds. This time, it's my turn to protect you. Stella looked utterly confused. Protect me? What are you talking about? Are you having an episode? The loan officer stared at me with displeasure. Sir, why did you destroy our contract? I put my arm around my sister, glanced at the loan officer with a smile, and said, "Sorry, we've decided not to mortgage this house." Hearing this, my sister became upset. "You need treatment. The money at home isn't nearly enough." I gave a light laugh and showed her a screenshot of my bank account balance. "There's money for treatment." Sis, Stella's eyes widened in shock at the 7-figure balance. "You? How do you have so much money?" I didn't respond, because these funds were marital property acquired during my marriage. I had already liquidated all of it. So you don't need to sell the house. Dad left us some emergency funds. I lied to my sister. She still didn't know about Chloe's betrayal. If she found out the truth, she would definitely confront Chloe, which would cause Chloe to return prematurely. I needed some time to convert these marital assets into my personal premarital property. The first step was to establish a company. I would invest all the funds into the company to then create a project and channel the money into it. Through various methods the money would eventually be transferred back to my personal account. By then, if legal proceedings went against me and the court awarded Chloe half of the assets, I would firmly state that the company was operating at a loss and unable to pay. Even if they applied for compulsory enforcement, there would be nothing they could do. If I declared bankruptcy later, it would be even more impossible for Chloe to get a single cent from that money. I might even be able to claim a portion of the money she currently held abroad. Chloe and Lance weren't looking for any international doctor. In less than a week, the two of them started arguing. "Lance, what are you talking about? How can you just lose a $1,000,000 watch? I think you secretly sold it. You're tired of me and planning to take the money to find a younger woman, aren't you?" Lance had no defense. The watch was indeed lost while in his possession. He could only muster the courage to say, Juan, you have to believe me. My love for you is so deep. How could I abandon you over a watch? Even if I really wanted to leave you, I'd wait until you've swindled all that idiot Ethan Reed's money first, wouldn't I? For you, I've given up my stable job back home. How could I do such a thing? Chloe felt extremely frustrated. Losing the watch wasn't her greatest pain. What bothered her most was that they had spent 100,000 yuan in less than a month abroad. And now that she discovered that the remaining 900,000 yuan in the International Union Pay card was frozen and couldn't be withdrawn. Lance, what do we do now? My account is frozen. It must be that Ethan found out I blocked him and froze my card. What? The card is locked. Then where are we supposed to stay tonight? The two looked around. The picturesque beach for the first time made them feel trapped in a swamp. Chloe said to Lance, "Figure out a way to borrow some money from home. We need to go back to China first." Upon hearing this, Lance immediately flared up. "Go back. Now. We just got here." Chloe glared at him angrily. "What else can we do if we don't go back? With no money we'll starve here. We don't speak the language. We can't find jobs. Didn't you see the way those foreigners looked at me? It was like they wanted to skin me alive." "Fine." Lance felt utterly dejected. He exhausted all his efforts and finally, before dark, managed to gather 10,000 yuan transferred to him by friends and family. Holding this sum, the two boarded a flight back to their home country. My phone continuously received short videos sent by Detective Millard, keeping me fully aware of their every move and conversation. I never expected these two to blow through the 100,000 yuan so quickly. I couldn't help but frown. At this rate, I was going to be put in a passive position. 100,000 yuan. I originally thought two people could stretch it for 2 or 3 months, but they spent it all in just under a month. I stayed up all night calling my lawyer, Troy Daniels, asking him to complete the asset transfer for me within 10 hours as quickly as possible. After everything was arranged, I checked into a private hospital. A public hospital couldn't facilitate my plan, but a private one could. I asked the doctor to create a falsified, severe medical record for me, pretending my condition was critical and that I was on the verge of death. When Chloe returned, her face was covered in tears, full of feigned concern. "Honey, how did you become like this?" I stared at her blankly. You. Why did you block me?" A flicker of panic crossed Chloe's eyes, but she quickly regained her composure. "I didn't block you, honey. It's because phones can't call internationally. So it showed up as blocked. You've never been abroad, so naturally you wouldn't understand these things." My face showed sadness, but inwardly I was amused by her humor. Haven't I eaten pork before? Haven't I seen a pig run? I thought. Failed calls are understandable. But did all other means of contact disappear too? I still played along with her act. So that's how it is. What about the doctor situation? The moment the doctor was mentioned, Chloe's expression instantly darkened. "What more is there to say? Did you freeze my bank card?" I had already reached an agreement with a famous doctor, ready to pay a 300,000 yuan deposit for him to come to the country next month to operate on you. But now the money is frozen. The doctor isn't coming. And the 100,000 yuan spent on connections is completely wasted. "Chloe," I pretended to cough. I don't have long to live. Please don't trouble yourself anymore. Let it be." Chloe seemed surprised. "It's been less than a month. How did you deteriorate so quickly?" She was suspicious of me. "Wait here. I'll go ask the doctor." With that, she turned and walked out. Obviously going to find my attending physician to inquire about my condition. Seizing this opportunity, Detective Miller slipped quietly into the room and handed me the 1,000,000 yuan watch. Wow, this wasn't easy to steal. That miser Lance guarded the watch very closely. I had no choice. I had to drug them to get it back. "Don't worry, you'll get every cent's worth from me. Give this watch to my sister first. Have her keep it safe for me. If this gets exposed, then I'll have to give half the money to that bitch Chloe." What a headache. Detective Miller had only just left when Chloe Tanner returned. This time her eyes were slightly red as if she had been crying. But I suspected she had simply slapped herself hard a couple of times. She'd be too happy about my death to feel any genuine sadness. "Honey," she said, "the doctor told me you don't have much time left." I couldn't help but roll my eyes internally. When other wives face this situation, they usually only share good news. She, on the other hand, did the exact opposite, specializing in bad news and avoiding anything positive. Unfortunately for Chloe, she didn't know the doctor she consulted was an actor I had paid for. "You? What nonsense are you talking about? It's only been a month." Cough. How could I possibly die in a month? I pretended to be emotionally agitated, biting down on a blood capsule in my mouth. Blood immediately sprayed onto her face. Chloe let out a terrified shriek. "Ethan Reed, you jerk!" She was horrified. Her first instinct was to rush into the bathroom and frantically scrub her face. She washed it over and over, a feeling of contamination welling up inside her. Then she flung the door open, dashed into the corridor, and screamed, "Doctor! Doctor! Help me, quickly!" She was desperately afraid of being infected by me, seeking a doctor's protection with all her might. After Chloe left, I couldn't help but laugh. Even if I had truly coughed blood on her, I couldn't have transmitted the virus to her. One evening a month later, the hospital issued my death certificate. I had requested that my body be sent directly to the crematorium for cremation. When my sister Stella and Chloe arrived at the scene, all that awaited them was a cold urn containing my ashes. Stella cried heartbreakingly, her voice growing hoarse. Only Chloe stared intently at my urn, her gaze profound and calculating. "Sister-in-law," Chloe began, "can you give me the keys to your house?" Stella was taken aback. "What do you mean by that?" Chloe sneered coldly. "What do I mean? This house was bought by my boyfriend. You didn't contribute a single cent. Now that he's dead, shouldn't you return the house to me?" Stella stared at her, shocked and incredulous. "Sister-in-law, you. What are you saying?" "Stop wasting my breath," Chloe retorted. "I'll go to court if I have to. I'll present Ethan's purchase records and claim the house that is rightfully mine." Stella angrily accused her. "You heartless woman. I never saw you once during Ethan's hospitalization. Now that he's dead, you come to fight for the inheritance. Even if it's about the inheritance, it has nothing to do with you. Get out. Leave now." Stella was furious. She had never encountered such a shameless woman. Just then, Lance Walker suddenly appeared and slapped Stella hard across the face. "Who the hell are you yelling at? What does Ethan's money have to do with you? If you dare bully my woman again, I'll have someone teach you a lesson." Stella recognized Lance. Trembling, she pointed at him and asked, "Aren't you my brother's classmate?" "You. When did you and Chloe get together?" Chloe stepped forward and viciously kicked Stella in the stomach. "What nonsense are you spouting? Lance and I share a deep bond, a perfect match of talent and beauty, and we are still together. Do you even know how to use words correctly?" Lance walked up to Stella with a malicious grin, pinched her chin lightly, and let his eyes roam over her brazenly. "Woman, I heard you separated from your husband to save Ethan. Want me to recommend a guy to you? Living alone must feel lonely and cold, right?" Inside a container not far away, I took off my surveillance headphones, a cold expression on my face. "We've collected enough evidence, right? Can we move now?" Detective Miller chuckled softly. "It's done, boss. You can stop pretending to be dead." I nodded slightly. "Give me the baseball bat." He handed it to me. I gripped the baseball bat and slowly walked out of the container, gradually approaching Lance and Chloe. The bat scraped against the concrete floor, making a scrape asterisk sound. Lance turned his head at the noise, his face contorted in terror. Chloe, who was enthusiastically beating my sister, suddenly heard the panic in Lance's voice. She turned around and scolded him, "You're so useless. You can't even handle one person." "Ah?" The ferocious expression on Chloe's face was instantly replaced by sheer fear. Are you a man or a ghost?" Seeing the bruises on my sister's face, my heart filled with rage. "I'm your daddy." I swung the bat, hitting Chloe squarely on the backside. It then immediately followed with a powerful kick to Lance's stomach. Chloe staggered a few steps and fell to the ground, her face covered in dust. Lance clutched his stomach as he stumbled backward, the fear in his eyes undiminished. You're not a ghost. You're human. You were pretending to be dead." I grabbed the baseball bat and swung it hard at non-lethal parts of his body, driving him to flee in panic. But the crematorium's courtyard was only about half the size of a basketball court, and I had already locked the main gate. Where could he possibly escape to, bastard? "I've put up with you for far too long. Today, you will pay the price." Under the dual pressure of fear and shock, Lance had long lost the courage to fight back. I cornered him against a wall and beat him mercilessly. Chloe quickly fled the scene, threatening me as she left. "Ethan Reed, just you wait." Once I was tired of beating Lance, I gestured for him to come over. Lance knelt and slowly shuffled toward me on his knees. "Brother, is there anything you need me to do?" I slapped him hard across the face and roared, Get lost. Why are you still here? Getting in the way. The moment Lance heard I was letting him go, he immediately scrambled away from the courtyard on all fours. I walked over to my sister. She couldn't hold back her tears any longer and hit me. You wretched boy. I really thought you were dead. I held my sister Stella tightly and comforted her. Life is pretty tough. I can hold on for at least a few more years. Haha. After she had calmed down, I explained my plan and all the evidence I had collected during this time to her in detail. Not long after, I received a court summons. Chloe Tanner had filed for divorce and demanded half of the marital property. I did not appeal and directly agreed that finalizing the divorce proceedings. After the divorce, Chloe stared blankly at the now bankrupt company. 6 months later, Chloe stormed into my home, furious, just as Stella and I were having hot pot. You must have transferred the assets, didn't you? I nodded lightly. That's right. It was done long ago, precisely when you and Lance Walker were secretly dating abroad. Oh, I almost forgot to tell you, that Patek Philippe watch was also stolen back at my request. As I spoke, I rolled up my sleeve, revealing the exquisite watch on my wrist. Chloe's expression was vivid, a shifting from shock and disbelief to dawning comprehension and regret. Ethan Reed, when did you find out about Lance and me? I pressed the remote. A projector displayed various moments of her time with Lance, along with their nauseating conversations. If you don't want others to know, you simply shouldn't do it. Should I edit these videos nicely and take them back to your hometown to show all your relatives and friends? Chloe slumped to the floor, utterly defeated. I took out the court summons again and threw it in front of her. I have filed a lawsuit demanding the redivision of property. I've consulted professionals. According to the compensation standard for leaving with nothing after an affair, you still owe me a total of 530,000 yuan, including emotional damages. Another 6 months passed. I was admitted to the hospital and simultaneously sued Chloe again. Ultimately, the court ruled that she must compensate me for economic losses amounting to 482,000 yuan. Chloe cried hysterically, shouting that she had no money. I proceeded directly to apply for compulsory enforcement. Whether she was rich or not, my priority was to have this bad credit record attached to her name. The funds I had preserved were clearly designated in my will to be transferred to my sister, Stella Reed. Chloe had no choice but to seek help from Lance Walker. Unexpectedly, during the time she was fighting me, Lance had already hooked up with a stunningly beautiful married woman. When Chloe asked Lance for a loan, he refused without hesitation and took the opportunity to formally break up with her. Enraged, Chloe informed the married woman's husband about Lance's affair with his wife. Later, it was said that Lance broke into the couple's home to rob them. And the husband, acting in self-defense, accidentally killed Lance. They asked for Chloe, but she returned to her hometown, intending to find a reliable man to marry through a matchmaking service. And eventually entered into a marriage. Upon learning of this, I immediately compiled the videos and mailed them to her hometown. I spent some money to rent a large screen and had the footage play on a continuous loop in the main square of her hometown.